All right, here we go. Part 2 with Alan from Fart Systems. Does Poor Off-Road Coffee Company make incredible coffee? Yeah, they definitely do. Is Poor Off-Road Coffee Company veteran owned and giving back to that community? Yeah, they are. Is Poor Off-Road Coffee Company part of the 4x4 world, part of the overland community, part of a community that just wants to go outdoors, have fun, get muddy, see amazing sights, and just have a good time with good people? Yeah, they definitely are. So we want to say thank you to Poor Off-Road Coffee Company for being a part of our adventure, being behind us on what we're doing, and sponsoring these episodes of podcasts or whatever you want to call them, and just being an amazing company. It's veteran owned, it's personable, and they make great damn coffee. Yeah, yeah, they knocked that one right out of the park. So thank you to Poor Off-Road Coffee Company for being a part of our family.
I mean, we've done it with these camp stove or camp or not camp chef cook partner stoves built right in. I mean, it offers convenience, it offers safety, and it gives you more time to spend by the fire.
Yeah.
More time to spend fishing with the kid, more time to spend hanging out with the wife, more time to spend hiking, kayaking, canoeing, hunting, whatever the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not messing around, setting camp up, tearing it down, especially for us here. Right? I mean, we're in bear country,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the CEOs are pretty serious about that. They come up to your campsite, you're not there. You've gone for a little hike and you've got any food prep materials out. They're just taking it away from you. They're not going to say, sorry, we'll leave you a note. We took your stuff because it was a bear attractant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, that's something that the people in the city tend to forget about pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, bears don't bother me. I don't really care about bears. They're there. They're generally not going to bug you. The thing that creeps me out is cougars. That's it. I'm not a cat guy, and oh man, actually they just shot one last night about a kilometer from our house. A big male cougar
Oh wow.
in the city, right? So that was kind of weird.
I'm not.
Um,
I don't care much for the bears or the cougars and all that. I just wish Canada had better carry permit options to
yeah,
protect ourselves when we go out there.
yep.
That's my only thing.
And, yeah, and I mean, I'll be openly admit when we go, I take a 12 gauge the first round, the plugs out.
Yeah.
The first one's BB, maybe get your attention. The second, then everything else is slugs.
Yeah, I got a shorter 30-30 that I like to have with me because it's quick and it'll put whatever the hell I point at it down.
Old lever action.
Yeah, the old Marlin. I love that thing. I
love those guys. Yeah, they're a nice gun.
Oh yeah,
those 30-30s are great. I mean, the last rifle I had was a 30-06, and that was a bit much sometimes.
I love the 30-06, but I find the lever action I can actually maintain my target when I'm reloading, yep. As opposed to bolt action. Right. I can never stay steady unless I'm mounted on a bipod and so on and so forth. But I just wish I like bow hunting. I wish that we could have something, open carry, pistol or handgun of some sort. Because when I have the 30-30 in the backpack, I'm not pulling that out quick enough to shoot a bear.
Nope.
No. I wish that you could have something heavy enough on your chest and just be. But Canada.
Well, yeah, I mean, and all a person really needs is like a 357 mag to do the trick. I mean, you don't have to be carrying around 250 cal Desert Eagles, right? On holsters.
But I mean, even if you could have like a 45, it's not the greatest, but you give me a 45 with 10 rounds, I'll get the message across to whatever's coming at me.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah. I know, I agree. And it's just, it's our government, the way things are, right? I mean, now they're taking them all away, right? You can't have anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like you can have a BB gun. BB gun and an old 16 gauge.
That we were getting to it. that's where we're gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, but no, because our trip that we're doing, we want to go to Argentina, and
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out. I wish there was a way that I could have some sort of permits to go through the U.S. because I'll be able to have whatever rifle in the truck while we're going through Canada, which is fine.
Yep.
But I can't bring anything into the U.S. as far as I know, and that's
Yeah, you
my
can you can get an international permit, but it has to be done through who the hell issues that? I can't remember what department it is that issues that, but you can get, and I mean it takes a couple of years to get though,
I could
right? It's not
imagine.
one of those things that's you're going to sign up for it and get it in a couple of weeks, right? It's a pretty long drawn out process. But the thing is you have to prove the need to have it,
God, they're always looking to
right?
disprove any need to have it. So I can only imagine how fun
Yeah,
that
why do you
process
need
is.
that? Well, because if I ever feel my life is in danger, I want to be able to defend myself. That's why. But why would your life be in danger? It's
Not a
like
good
shut up.
enough
The
answer.
conversation, the
Yeah,
conversation's over at
I
that
know where
point.
this one's going, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, okay. So before we turn this into a 3 hour conversation, which
Right.
could very easily go that way, do you have a build that you've done so far that's been like, this is my standout build? Like, I had crazy creativity, freedom,
Yeah.
and what
The
is it?
one.
What is it? Let's hear it.
It's 2022 Tundra double cab, long 6.5 foot box with an alu cab on it. So young couple from Canmore, he owned his own plumbing company and he sold it. They sold their house. They bought this Tundra and they did a cross Canada trip,
Nice.
cross Canada journey. He's actually just listed it for sale. They just finished their trip, so he's selling it now and opening another plumbing business. So they did their thing. That build was we did that like literally over Christmas and New Year's last year. We worked right through Christmas and New Year's on that one. There's a total of 10 enclosures on that thing.
Oh wow.
And it is absolutely insane. That build is crazy. And actually, if you look at their listing on Facebook Marketplace, if you just look up, set your geography wide enough on Marketplace and put in 2022 Tundra. It's a dark army green one with the alu cab on it. They have a ton of pictures of our build in the back. And it's nuts. It's absolutely crazy. That was a crazy, crazy, crazy build. And that was one where we definitely needed to have the vehicle here. Most of our builds, we don't even need the vehicle until it's
Oh really?
installation. Yeah, no, I mean, if it's a vehicle we haven't done before, generally what I'll find, like let's say you want your Gladiator done. I just find a Gladiator at a local Ram dealer here. And I go and do the box measurements and figure out the bed rail height, the box
Yeah.
size, where everything's got to go. And then from there on, it's everything for me is just straightforward. Right. So that's my concern is I don't really need the vehicle. But that said, when it gets to something like this Tundra with this alu cab on it, that's where we actually need it because it's such an extensive build. It's monolithic. It's huge. There's so much stuff. There's passenger side box cabinets, driver side box cabinets, bulkhead cabinet, kitchen tunnel, equipment cabinet, diesel heater cabinet, upper cabinets in this thing's from the front doors of the alu cabin.
Yeah.
Like there's dual side doors on the alu cabin. So on the front doors that open up, there's elevated cabinets so they can access the cabinets from outside the truck when they open the side doors.
Yeah.
And then the inside has a different type of latch door so they can get to it from inside the truck. So that was a pretty cool build. And then we did a whole rear seat delete for it as well.
So you built basically in the box, in the cab, and like the whole thing was just fully built. That's wicked. I got to look this up. I'll try to find some pictures and post it along with the video.
Yeah, it's pretty kick-ass unit. It was a fun build. I mean, And some of the other ones we've done too. I mean, we've done a lot of classic vehicles too.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be starting a build in October here for a Land Cruiser 60 series.
Yeah, that's the one you were telling me about.
That one I sent you the picture of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
mean, and that one, that guy's from Edmonton as well. That Land Cruiser, even the interior system in it, not the system, the interior in that thing is either new old stock from Toyota or completely restored. There is nothing. You can't find anything on this Land Cruiser underneath, inside, in the engine bay that doesn't look like that thing just came off a room floor in 1982.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It's just, and it's a diesel 4-speed, which is even rarer, right?
What a rig.
To get a person like that, and he's actually a fabricator, right? So he's a metal fabricator. For him to entrust us with he doesn't even winter drive this thing. It goes into storage for the winter. And I don't blame him, right? You don't want any salt on those old Toyotas.
That's his baby.
You don't want any salt on any new Toyota either. They rust if you look at them the wrong way. But, for him to entrust us with this build, and this one, instead of doing our normal finishes on this, we're doing it all with natural wood, right? So it's going to look very retrospective to 1980s on the inside too. So we're keeping everything very era specific, where you go and try and find that elsewhere, you won't.
No.
Right? No. And you have to have a bit of a artist side to you on this too, right? You have to be able to envision what the customer's envisioning. A lot of the times the customer has a vision in their head and they don't really convey the heart of what they want. You have to draw that out so you can really, really figure that stuff out. You out of here? Going to walk? Have fun. Love you. Bye. We have to be pretty, how do we say this? We have to be very understanding with what our clients are asking for, right? So we have to do things per their request, like this guy with making this thing retro interior. We wouldn't get the order if we couldn't do it. Plain and simple, right? So it's something where I sent him a bunch of samples about how I would finish the wood with this type of urethane and blah, blah, blah. And, we can change the tone of the wood to this color so we can make it match more on this. And he's like, and he said, that's the kind of thing I would not get anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, that's the custom aspect of it, and the not having a catalog of this is, this is what you can choose from, and that's what you get. And that kind of goes, that's the difference from a smaller business, it's you and your wife, so you're a two-person operation versus the big corporate business that is, let's mass produce, not necessarily out of the North America, but let's mass produce in a warehouse and just stock our shelves so that people can order off the website and then boom, they have what they want, right? It's the difference.
We're 2 to 3 builds a month versus, shipping out 6 systems a day.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have a network of 80 distributors across North America. We don't have OK 4-wheel drive in New Jersey or Capit in Western Canada or Creighton. Yeah. We don't have anybody selling our stuff. It's just us, right?
No, 100%.
Honestly, we do a lot of work with the guys at Crave. They've been a big supporter of our business. So it's just one of those things where, I'm not a Toyota guy per se. I've had a few Jeeps in my life. I've had 3 Jeeps, I think it is. I've had an old CJ7. I've had a WJ. What else did I have? I had another one that I really wrecked because I was an idiot. I can't remember what that was a TJ. Yeah, that thing didn't last very long. Couple weeks, but that was back in my more aggressive off-roading days,
The
right?
fun
So
days.
yeah,
Careless days.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the one I do miss is my CJ7 though.
Oh,
I
those are
miss that.
nice.
It was it was a 304 V8 with the 4-speed. Really, there wasn't many of them around. Most of them had the 258 straight six,
Yeah.
but mine had the honking V8 in it, and that nice, really, really nice kind of gray blue Renegade. I bought the thing. I was 20. I think I was 20 years old when I bought that. 20. Yeah, I think I was 19 or 20. Saved my money, bought this thing, and the guy had never taken the hard top off of it. It actually had the factory padded roll bar in the same body color. It had the saddlebags and the roll bar corners, like where the truss is and everything.
Yeah.
It was immaculate. The first day I had it, I went out 4x4ing with a buddy. This is down in southern Saskatchewan. I'm like, oh, let's go through the river. So we're driving through the river. It's only a couple feet deep and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I want to get the real Jeep feeling and take the doors off. So I took the doors off, laid them down, went through the river, came back and drove over one of my frickin' doors.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, it just ripple chipped it, right? So I came rolling in the driveway with my Jeep covered in mud, my door held on with duct tape and bubble gum and Band-Aids. And my old man he was ready to kill me. Right? So
I can well imagine the colorful language.
Oh, my dad didn't have to say much. He didn't need to say anything at all. It's just the look. That's all he needed to do is give a look. I mean, he was a retired, he was a pilot in the Canadian Navy back when they still had aircraft carriers. So he was a Cold War torpedo bomber pilot that monitored all the Russian subs off the eastern coast of Canada during the Cold War. So he was a hard ass, a very loving dad, but when you saw the look, you just go the other way. Because if not, you're going to get it. And you're going to find you're going to have one ear that's a lot bigger than the other ear.
Yeah, I know that very well.
Yeah. Yeah. But so anyways, yeah, but yeah, honestly, Matt, what we're doing, we just love this shit. We just love it. And it comes with its challenges. It comes with days where you question, did you do the right thing? Should I pack this crap up and should I go back into the office? Should I shave the beard off and bust the suits out again and the tie and go back and work in downtown Calgary in the corporate world?
Yep.
And there's not enough to drag me back there ever again.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to use the term I found my calling in life. I hate that. That's bullshit. But I think I found not necessarily where I want to be. I found out where I need to be. And that's what's important.
100%. I feel that. And I have those similar intrusive thoughts, but I feel you're 100% right with that one. Right. And that's what we all try to find is that place the place we want to be, the place we need to be, and the place that, we find that little bit of joy and that little bit of happiness that, can make the biggest difference.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's just, before we started this business, don't get me wrong, I had a nice table saw. I was a decent table saw, and now I'm working on this great big general thing, right? And this big general table saw, it's a big 3-horse, 240 volt, running a CNC machine. Now we've got box and pan brake. We're metal fabricating now. I mean, we used to get our stove trays made by a metal fab company, right? Because they were custom sized.
Yeah.
And we were paying through the nose for those things. So I'm like, screw it. I've never used a box and pan brake, but they're not complicated. So we bought one, and now we're making our own stove trays in-house, right? So, I mean, that's just the way our business is kind of evolving. And that's the exciting part right now is now, and it's funny, when we find cost savings in our business for our own costs, we pass those on to the customer. So we've done estimates where Okay, well, that stove tray, we know that our cost used to be X amount. Now it's here. So we'll reach out to that client that didn't go with us and say, by the way, we can knock X amount off now because we're doing this in-house. Or we negotiated a better deal on shipping with one of our suppliers.
Yeah.
So we're getting free shipping now instead of having to pay for shipping. So that can come off of your build cost. We pride ourselves on ethics.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of our big things is we're ethical. We'll never feed a customer a line of shit because I hate that. Hate it. Hate it. It's happened to me. It's happened in this business. When we first started, we took a considerable amount of my retirement savings and invested it into buying a custom-made CNC. The guy turned out to be a scammer.
Cool.
We had to pay 100% up front, not a deposit, 100%, because it's a fully custom machine. Because the plywood we use is 5 foot by 5 foot sheets, not 4 by 8. So,
yeah.
And we wanted to keep our business local. We thought that was important. And by local, I mean Canada or even Alberta, right? If you want to get a little smaller. And the guy took the money and ran. Right. And he did it to another guy up in Grand Prairie. So that was literally within the first 6 months of our business. So that set us back a lot of cash, a lot of learning. I mean, I understand control systems quite well. Automation and controls, I'm pretty fluent in it. So we finally got a CNC, and I mean, that's been a game changer for us, but you get these little things like that when you're first starting your business.
That's a bit bigger than little, I think. That's a big one for sure.
It's a big one, but what it does is it tests your commitment to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at the upside of what happened. The downside is we're out a bunch of cash. The upside is it's made me rethink how I converse with suppliers or potential suppliers or fabricators or these kind of things, right? It's just, I was always one of those, I'll trust everybody 100% up front and it's theirs to lose.
Yeah.
Rather than them having to earn my trust. And I'm still that way, but I think I've learned to read people a little bit better, right? So I mean, I'm trying to find all the upside of that. I mean, and even when shitty things happen to good people, there's always an upside for the good person that got screwed over because you've learned something.
For sure.
And learning is invaluable, right? So yeah, we've had our challenges. Like I say, we've had people start up and try and compete with us, and and I think with this business that we're doing, it's not one of those things that you can say, well, I'm going to go sell cars at a dealership Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, and then in the evenings and the weekends, I'm going to build overland interior systems.
Not a side gig.
It's not a side gig. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, if you just want to build a basic two-drawer system and fasten it in with, hopes and dreams, a person can do that, right? But the way we do it, it's not a hobby, right? It's actually has to be, when you look at even the fabric, like the carpet that we bring in, I mean, that stuff's got to come out of the US, eh? You can't even buy that shit here in Canada. I mean, it's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, it's funny. We've got a lot of guys that do hunt and they're like, oh, I don't want carpet. I want Line-X in the back. I'm like, why? This carpet's actually made for the US military to park tanks on in the mud. It's resistant to battery acid, motor oil, gear oil, blood, guts. I mean, you can throw you pop a mule deer and you got him out, you throw him in the back on the carpet. You get home, it's dirty. You just wipe it off. Literally, it wipes off of one of these yellow Costco cloths is all it takes to clear the stuff. It's waterproof. So, I mean, the backside is 100% PVC waterproof. The top side is hygroscopic. So if you do get a spill in the back, the spill stays contained in the carpet. It doesn't go running off underneath the other cabinets or underneath the base plate. So researching things like that and getting the right materials in that really, really does our systems justice, right? So, yeah, yeah, we're having fun with it.
It's funny because as I'm listening to you talk, most of what you're saying is Chinese to me because hydroscopic and all that stuff. But it makes me excited to see that this is 2 years, almost 2 years into it,
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to seeing where you're at 3 years, 4 years, because I feel like you have such an aggressive attention to detail that it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up as it goes. And like I said, to me, you're talking. I have no idea what most of that stuff means, but it's I'm not building these cabinets and drawers and stuff like that. And it goes back to my analogy for tattoo artists. That I'm not going to go tell my tattoo artist, hey, do this. I'm going to say, hey, I want something that looks like this, and this is the idea I have. You're the artist. You do your thing. This is your world. You create it, and that's clearly what you're doing. Is you're building these custom, beautiful setups. And I
yeah,
say beautiful because one look at your Instagram and the stuff you make, it's clear that it's not. You're not going to purchase that out of a catalog because none of your builds for the same vehicles look the same, and
yeah,
that would be what I would only assume is just client, um, input and
yeah.
your knowledge and design going into what that they want, kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's that I think is a partial reason for our success, right? Is that
oh, for sure.
yeah, it you could line up 10 Jeep Gladiators with their owners,
Yeah,
and every single person's going to want something slightly different.
for sure,
It might be
100%.
grossly different, it might be slightly different, but so anyway, on that carpet, the hygroscopic, what that actually, so I'll give you a bit of why I said that. So what that is when you get into a canopy camper. So let's say hypothetically you decided to put a Yucca pack on the back of your Gladiator. Okay. So you guys had easy access and blah, 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 blah. You find when you sleep in the back of a vehicle, the condensation from you breathing at night, you'll get the drip, right? You get the drip on the walls, even down below and stuff. So what hygroscopic is means the top surface, the exposed surface, absorbs water, even water vapor in the air.
Yeah.
So with our builds, and especially these canopy campers, where people are sleeping in the back, what it means is it cuts your drip down to almost nothing. You
Oh
just won't
wow.
have any anymore because it's kind of like a desiccant dryer, like that desiccant
Yeah.
material they use in air compressors to keep the airline dry. That's kind of what it's almost like a desiccant type carpet where it actually absorbs that stuff, and it weighs less than bed liner. So I
Okay.
mean, if you're going to put our carpet beside bed liner, you take a square foot of it. If you could peel off the bed liner and peel off our carpet weighs less than the bed liner. So it's
Oh
super
wow.
light. And I did a test on it. I dragged a turbo 400 transmission across it on the garage floor in the concrete, and it won't rip.
Oh
And we
Jesus.
did a job for a lady out in BC, and she's a bodybuilder. I mean, she's quite strong for her size. And I took a piece of carpet about 2 feet squared. I put a little cut in it.
Yeah.
I made her grab one side, and I grabbed the other side. And at the time, I guess I was about 270 pounds. So I mean, I was not a small dude. And I grabbed that, and she grabbed it, and we couldn't rip the carpet. You couldn't rip it. So I mean, it's hard as nails. It's super stuff, super stuff. But
Well,
yeah, it's
that's why I'm excited to see kind of where the evolution goes because it seems like it like you sourced out this crazy carpet, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else kind of evolves in these drawer systems and stuff like that. I find it like just because I'm currently trying to figure out our system in the back of the truck, and right now we're going with a rooftop tent
yep,
as opposed to our desired canopy camper, which obviously will come down the line, I'm sure, but it's
yep,
the designing aspect changes so quick, and I don't know. I find it fascinating. I find it's probably a weird thing to find fascinating, but I find it fascinating to see the different designs. And then when you talk about that 60 series, I can't wait to see what that looks like.
Oh, I'm pretty pumped on that one. It's I mean, I get excited about all our builds, but every now and then
Yeah,
we
something
get this
special.
really unique request that's like, wow, okay, this is like, for instance, that guy from LA. Um, he's a photographer, and he actually studied under Lord Snowden in the UK when he was a child for
Yeah.
photography. So the Queen's photographer, and he also worked a bit with Ansel Adams.
Oh wow.
So we're going to be a part of this photography expose he's doing. He's going driving all the way from Southern California to Alaska, and he's doing a photography expose called Chasing Ansel Adams. So a lot of wildlife photography, nature photography along the road. So that 6-drawer system for him was literally, he's building this truck from scratch. It's a brand new truck, building it from scratch, full flat deck with a Hallmark canopy on the back and yada, yada, yada. So you really think about the builds like that. They're kind of, you hear the story about what they're going to be doing with this.
Yeah.
And that's where shit gets exciting.
Well,
You,
for
you do
sure.
these exclusive works for these old Land Cruisers and stuff. You're like, okay, that's something a little extra special, right?
Oh well, yeah.
Or you
I
get,
mean, it's a 60 series Land Cruiser. Like it's just a beautiful truck in its own, and to be like you said, so pristinely kept to its originality. That's especially for Toyotas.
yeah,
Toyotas have a very the world of Toyota people have a very big grip on their nostalgic,
yeah,
Toyotas. Jeeps,
yeah,
not that much, we're quite happy with the new JL and the Gladiator and stuff and those
yep,
upgrades. But Toyotas, they're all about the first gen and the second gen and
yeah.
especially when you go back to those old Land Cruisers in the 70s and 80s
Oh,
or
I
80s and
mean,
90s.
you have to admit, yeah. I mean, whether a person's a Jeep fan or a Toyota fan or a or a Ford fan, it doesn't matter. There's something to be said about the old school Toyotas.
100%.
You take a 1970 FJ40 Land Cruiser, the 2-door, looks like a Jeep kind of thing. You can't break them. And if you
No.
do break them, you fix them with a couple of tree roots and a hatchet, right? You can fix the damn things. I mean, Toyota, Mr. Toyota himself, when they first started building vehicles to it, he 100% believed in the Kaizen system, which is keep it simple, stupid, and keep it organized. And try don't try to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Just do very good about what you're going to do in your own lane. And you think about the old first gen forerunners, right? They didn't even start as a forerunner. There was literally, Toyota didn't even make the forerunner. That was made by a Toyota dealer in Wisconsin that was next door to the Winnebago facility, who took a truck over, a pickup, over to the Winnebago facility and said, make a topper and cut the back of the cab out to make this more like a motorhome.
Oh shit, I didn't know
That's
that.
how the first gen forerunner came about. Then Toyota got involved. So that's a great idea. So that's literally where SUVs came from. Was from a car dealer in Wisconsin. But that spawned the Toyota forerunner.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea. I love
Yeah.
that.
So there's a lot of Toyotas have some weird ass history, right? Like it's so weird. And Toyota, don't get me wrong, I've had Porsche Cayenne GTSs. I've had some pretty rank vehicles in my day. Very fast, very posh, if you want to call them. And there's a reason I'm driving a Toyota again today.
Yeah.
You could be the worst person at ever maintaining a vehicle. You could never get your oil changed. You could never check your oil. You could drive these, and they don't care.
Yeah,
Toyotas
because
don't. They don't give a
he
shit.
he built those. What did they say they wanted? I don't know if it was just all Toyotas or maybe just the Helix, but he wanted them to be to last forever in a third world country or something like that. I
Yep.
remember hearing something along those lines, and I
Yep.
think that's a pretty rad fact. Like, and for
Yep.
us, had I been able to find a Tacoma to the specs that I wanted without having to
Yeah.
wait to factory order one right now,
Right.
I probably would have went the Tacoma route versus the Gladiator route. Even though I have a Jeep tattoo, I probably would have went that route. But it was it wasn't easy to find the Gladiator I wanted either. But Toyotas
But you know
are
what I think though, Matt? I think with the Gladiator, I think I think Chrysler's gone in the right direction with that. You know what?
well.
The Jeep brand name itself, when AMC had it, was a different animal, right?
Yeah,
We go back to the CJs. I mean, they were. I remember driving from my hometown, Weyburn, Saskatchewan, up to Regina to see an Iron Maiden concert when I had my Jeep, and it was the middle of winter. And of course, we're going back to the mid '80s, early '80s here. We had our empty beer boxes trying to direct the floor heat over so we didn't freeze to death on the way home, because literally they had the worst heating system in the
yeah.
world in the CJs, right? It was freezing on that thing, right? Southern Saskatchewan in the middle of winter,
No
no
insulation.
good. But four-wheel drive wise, that Jeep would go pretty much anywhere. It was a pretty capable vehicle.
Yeah,
And I think Jeep lost their way for a bit when Chrysler first took them over from AMC. They kind of went down the cost-cutting path and then,
fancy.
make them more of a road type vehicle than an off-road type vehicle. But I think now with Jeep being more involved with third-party companies like Warren,
Yep.
like AEV, or Ram getting involved with AEV on the
Power
Prospector,
wagon.
yeah, the Power Wagon. They're back into that market again, and I think it's about due time because I don't disrespect any brand. I there's some amazing old Ford Broncos. You go
Oh
back to the
yeah,
old Ford
man.
Bronco iron, amazing stuff. Go back to the old Dodge Ram Charger. They were amazing.
Well, the
You go back,
perfect if you go. I always said if you took the three big trucks, so the Chevy, the Ford, and the Ram, and if you put the three of them together, you put that Allison transmission with that Cummins engine with the
yeah,
framework on a Ford, man, that's the perfect truck. But I can
yep,
find you something wrong and shitty with all three of those
yep,
trucks, and I can find you something good, right?
yep,
There's no real perfect right answer to anything. Um, so yeah, I was always the same way. I'll never talk ill about another vehicle brand because
no,
there's great and bad with whatever you look at. But the nice thing with that Gladiator that I like is having those 410 gears with the Ram
yep,
1500 rear end in there and being able
yeah,
to have a little bit more get up and go and more capability and type of thing.
yep,
So that was nice, but it's yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
And what I hate about my Tundra, the interior. It's as basic can get. I mean, it's like a 1975 Chevy square body truck on the inside, right? It's
it's
just they're not.
weird
It's
that
got a small touch
yeah.
screen. But I was thinking about it. Do I need a touch screen that's the size of my TV in my house? No, I don't. I'm not looking at the touch screen when I'm driving, right? I mean, do I need this? Do I need that? No. So I got a pared down version. I got the SR5. I didn't get the platinum with the leather and all the other crap because I didn't want that. Um, so I think, with the Toyotas, my biggest bitch about this Tundra is the same bitch that everybody has about the Tundra is that you compare it to an F-150 or a Ram 1500 or a Silverado 1500, you line the four trucks up, you fill them all with 100 liters of gas, you go down the road, the Toyota is going to go the shortest distance of all,
Oh, it's got
right?
bad mileage, eh?
Oh, oh, brother, oh man. We're on a 3-inch lift and we're on 35s, right? So I mean, it's on. and it's on 17-inch rims. So I've got a lot of floppy sidewall on this thing. So it is what it is. But I'm at 22 liters per 100 kilometers, and I'm re-geared too. So I'm
Holy
430s.
Christ.
But I also keep it into perspective that, I've got a winch bumper in front and a winch, and I've got
You're
the
a bit
lift, the
heavier.
big tires. And at the end of the day, I'm driving a 5.7 liter V8 half-ton truck with a lift.
Yeah.
I'm not going to set the world on fire with mileage. And even the new Tundra with the V6 twin turbo, they're getting marginally better gas mileage. So you pick your poison, right? I mean, you'll probably never have to lift the hood on the Toyota, right? It's just going to be they're just a workhorse that keep running and running and running, but the body's going to rust off around it, right? You're going to look like Freddie Flintstone with your feet sticking through the floor, but it's still going to run and it's still going to get you from A to B. So that's kind of why I went with the Toyota, because of their drivetrain reliability. But you look at the new V6 twin turbo, and apparently they're having wastegate problems on the turbos. They were sticking shut, and the truck would go into limp mode.
Nice.
To get to the turbos, you actually have to pull the drivetrain out of the truck.
Great
you can't
planning.
access them. That, or you have to lift the body off the chassis to get to the turbos. I'm like, okay, problem.
Yeah.
So Toyota's not infallible. They're not perfect. Not perfect by any means. Not even close.
None of them are. None of them
No,
are.
and Jeep's got white electrical gremlins, right? And the Fords have suspension issues, right? And then the Dodge has, I think the Ram trucks, they have a frame issue, that the frames are a little bit weak at the midpoint between the chassis and the cab. And people are, granted, people are overloading them. And let's be fair, this overlanding shit, I use that word shit because I can't think of a better word for this part of it, is I see so many people now buy a Tacoma, buy a Frontier, a Ford Ranger, and they want to build this thing out like they've got an F-350, right? You see these people with a vehicle that's got a GVWR of 5,700 pounds coming in with a 7,000 pound vehicle and then wanting to build in the back. It's like, okay, what part of math don't you understand here?
Well,
I mean,
it's not only that, but what you see a lot of it is they'll throw on, and especially now, geez, last time I was in the 4x4 world was in 2015. I had a two-door Wrangler on a 2.5 AV with 33-inch Coopers on 17-inch just steel wheels. And I think that's all I had done to it. And I mean, there wasn't much in Alberta that this little thing couldn't handle. But it was, I'd see people that were, at that point in time, it was like, holy shit, you're going on 37s? Like, that's crazy. But you'd see people go to 37s on, a 4-inch lift. And I remember when I was looking for my lift, I went to a few places and I knew in my head, I was like, I want a 2.5 inch so I don't have to fuck with brake lines. I don't have to fuck around with stance. Just 2.5 is perfect. And the shops I was going to were like, well, you're not going to be able to do much. You should go with a 3.5 or a 4-inch. And I was like, no, I don't want to fuck around with shit. I just want to keep it simple. No. It's my daily driver. But people would listen to that and go to this 4-inch lift on 37s and so on and so forth. But they wouldn't touch their axle. They wouldn't touch their drivetrain at all. And then they'd be blowing seals, blowing boots. And I'm like, well, yeah, what'd you think was going to happen? Like you didn't reinforce shit. You put a bunch of stress on everything because it looks good on the outside. And then you try to go through a fucking puddle and you just blow it up. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? What was your, it looked pretty until but then it just explodes. So and now you're seeing like 40s seems to be the common
40s are the new 35s.
Yeah, which is crazy to me because I'm like, that's insanity. But I talked to a lot of the people that are doing this Pan American, to Argentina's, all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen a single one of them over 35s.
No.
And the people truly go overlanding that are like, I go every weekend, I go on
Yeah.
week trips, stuff like that. None of them are rocking,
No.
giant monster vehicles and stuff. The only person that I've seen is Mike Hernandez from Fieldcraft. He's got, I think, 40s on his Gladiator, but that thing is
Yeah.
done up properly and
Right.
reinforced everywhere
Everything
else.
is done. He
You know what I
hasn't.
mean?
He's touched everything on there. Everything on that
Everything.
thing has been touched.
That's it. And so he did it the right way. Whereas other people are like, well, I can spend this much on an axle and reinforcing my drivetrain, or I can spend the same amount on 40s and cool rims and a 5-inch lift.
Oh, it
I'm
just
going that way. It's like, well,
and I remember we were saying about speaking from experience.
yeah,
So when I was younger, I had a 75 Blazer, and the total, it was a stupid lift. I had 12 inches of suspension lift and 8 inches of body lift on top of that. So I had 20 inches of lift, and I was running 44-inch super swampers on that thing. And it was a big block truck. I had it for about a week, and I took a left-hand turn in town and tipped her on her side. Right over it went. Just like, it was not a pretty sight. So I mean, I I get the big tire theory depending on where you're overlanding. I mean, if you're going on trails, let's say you live in Central America, right? You live in Costa Rica or Nicaragua or something like that, where those trails, they're not like our trails,
no,
right? You might need 40s there. You might need something because it's gnarly as, right?
for
And you've
sure.
got huge amounts of mud and like crap. But the thing is, for the most part, the day-to-day overlander that we're talking about nowadays, anything over 35, as I have to ask the question, why do you need, because really from a 35 to a 37, you're only gaining an extra inch, and with compression and everything else, you're probably gaining 3/4 of an inch of ground clearance. Well,
Well,
why do you need that extra 3/4 inch? Where's your body? Where's your armor? Don't you have skid plates underneath? That's what they're there for. I
the
mean,
only thing that I could realistically see, a full blown necessity for 40s is maybe you'll have a bigger footprint on your air down,
mm,
but that's really, like I said, I had 33s and a 2.5-inch AEV. So it was a true lift. It was a 3-inch lift without all the weight. But then you had my bumpers and my skid
yeah,
plates and my winch and my gear and stuff. And I sat perfectly at 2.5 inches, 33-inch tires. And there wasn't anything I did. I went Rocky Mountain House. We messed around there for a few times.
rot, rotten monkey house.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that place.
But like all the places we went to, there was nothing that I got stuck, but I got stuck in the same places the 35s or 37s got stuck.
Yeah,
It was fine. Like, and I was able to do it without breaking the bank too
yeah,
crazy. So I don't know. And when I was selling Jeeps and Rams, I'd see the people come in and, oh, this is what I'm going to do to it. I'm going to do this and this and this. And thankfully, 99% of those people are just driving it on the pavement, and
yep,
they'll never see the dirt ever. I mean, you come from the oil and gas Fort McMurray, you go back to, what
yep,
was it, 2010 and Fort
yeah.
McMurray, and it was, everybody was driving a $150,000 truck, but there
Yeah.
was, a
Hauling a
$60,000 truck.
$300,000 boat. And
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. All the 8-inch lifts and the,
Yeah. And then they're running 24s on it with this much rubber on the sidewall. It's like,
because
what are you
that's
doing?
cool. It's cool. Look at this cool build. I remember I saw a guy in Lloyd, and he had, what was it? I think it was like a $24,000 like build on this truck, and it was stunning, a magazine style, but it was this daily driver, and you could look under that truck and eat off of the bottom of it because it had never seen dirt, and it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. It to me it never made sense. because
no, it's different strokes for different folks, right? I mean, some guys like to do
yeah,
the Carolina squat and so on and so forth. It's like, you know
so
what?
weird.
Whatever floats your boat, or like my dad used to say, whatever makes your hair blow back, do whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
But I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I'm a more traditionalist kind of guy, but on this tire size thing, a lot of it too is, something we talked about earlier too, is your experience, is knowing how to pick a line.
yeah,
And you pick a line appropriate to how your vehicle is built. Sometimes you don't have a choice of line, right? You have to take the line that's presented to you because there is no other way around, right? There is no loop. You got to go through this section. But that comes down to experience and how to drive properly,
well,
right?
yeah,
That's
and just
understanding don't take the damn thing up to the rev limiter. Like, what are you doing, pinhead? You got the thing up on the rev limiter in the middle of a mud pit. What are you doing?
yeah,
40s are not going to help you.
and that's kind of where it comes from, right? A lot of people are like, well, bigger tires, I'll get over whatever I need to get over. It's like, no, not really. No,
No, you won't.
it's gonna be more of a pain in the ass. You're gonna pay more in gas, and you're gonna think, "Oh, I know what I'm doing. I got big tires," and then you're gonna learn pretty quickly, like, "Oh shit, maybe
And
this
then what
isn't the
happens?
case."
What happens, Matt?
Oh, you,
You start putting everything up higher. Back
yeah,
to what I was saying about the center of gravity and getting in off-camber situations. You're on 40s, and let's say you got 18-inch rims. And let's say you're aired down to 15 or 12 psi, and you get in an off-camber situation. Physics is not going to be in your favor
no, and
with
physics
40s.
never loses.
No, it does not. Physics is a hard bitch,
Yeah,
and it will teach you some pretty damn big lessons. And that's maybe I'm old and surly, but that's one thing that I talk to people about too, even when we're, like I say, with our consultation with our design, is we ask what size of tires they're on and what kind of lift they have, what kind of suspension they have, because I can kind of judge what the customer is going to be like. Talking to them and start asking those questions, right? They're like, "Oh, I got this and this and this and this and this and this." It's like, okay, all right. So we're going to keep everything super low. Your drawers are going to be 4 inches deep. I'm not building anything higher than that. No. I mean, but seriously, I mean, that's a big part of it. And again, it goes back into us engineering these out.
yeah,
That we make sure that we know what that customer, even what they're going to be doing a year from now, right? So like if you said, "Hey, Al, we want to do a build for the Jeep before we go on our trip, da, 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 da. Right now we've got a canopy with a rooftop tent on it." Be like, "Okay, so what's your ultimate goal?" Well, our ultimate goal is to put a Yucca pack on it, an Alucab, whatever.
yeah,
Name your poison, right? Basically what I do in that kind of a build is I build it to work for you today, but I build it modular so that when you get your canopy on there and you want a table in the back to eat at or whatever, because it's your third day of rain and you got fungus on your feet and you want to sit inside and stay dry. Well, there's your solution, right? So we build our systems modular as well, so that you can take 4 bolts out,
yeah,
take an individual cabinet out. Well, there's your floor space. You still have the other cabinet in,
yeah.
right? So everything's interlocked together. Everything's modular.
Nothing's
And
ever permanent.
Yep. We're flexible in how we can design these on their arrangements so that, like you say, the person that's got a Gladiator today with a canopy and a rooftop tent on it, the build I do for somebody today might not work when you put a canopy camper on it. So that's why we do the consultation to say, what are you doing 2 years down the road? Oh, we're going to have a canopy camper. We're going to build these side cabinets up right up to the box rails is where they're going to go. Because you'll thank me later. Then I'm going to drop down to do the kitchen tunnel at 15 inches because that's going to be your seating surface when you're sitting inside on the shitty day eating dinner in there. That's why that's going to be there. And in the meantime, you've just got a fiberglass canopy on there with a rooftop tent on it or whatever the case is, or an aluminum canopy. Well, easy enough. It's still going to work for that today. You just can't sit on the kitchen tunnel. But when it comes time, we'll make a cushion for that, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
So we build today for tomorrow. That's kind of another thing we do.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It's because nobody's really going to be in the same spot a year from now.
Nope.
So,
Nope. And everybody's gear changes too, right? Everybody's equipment changes. I mean, we'll build our stove trays to work with an average size camp stove, because today they might have a camp chef, tomorrow they might have a cook partner, and a year down the road they might have a GSI Pinnacle, right? That's only 1.4 inches tall. I mean, I don't know. So let's build it to fit everything, right? So I mean, that's kind of, we standardize a few things
yeah,
that way. But yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
it's kind of, it's like I say, it's fun what we do. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I get to play with tools all day. I mean, I
Yeah.
get to run a CNC. I get to run a big kick-ass table saw, some massive rotors, box and pan brakes and shears, and I love that shit. I mean, I love working on tools all day. It's my thing, right? So
what's next then for Fart Systems?
well, we're kind of at that point. We're at that tipping point. Whether it's, we're working in a 650 square foot shop.
Yeah. So it's time for an upgrade.
We're not tripping over each other
Yet.
because I'm a big one for efficiency in manufacturing. So we have specific stations set up. It's really fluid the way we work.
Okay.
But we can't literally physically can't grow our business any bigger than it is right now in the facility we're in. Then you look at what's going on with the price of renting or leasing industrial or commercial space in this province right now. And I mean, for a 1,500 square foot wood shop, with let's say it's got the makeup air installed in it already, we're looking at $3,500 to $4,000 a month all in. So that means we've got to start doubling our business just to pump those builds out to pay for that lease. So we're kind of like, is that really what we want to do? Or do we go after outside investment in this business and say, okay, let's get a 3,000 square foot shop. Let's get 2 5x10 CNCs in. Let's hire a full-time or a contract CAD guy. Let's let me start doing what I do best, and that's managing a business. That's always been that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years of my career, was managing business. So I don't know what is next for Fart Systems. Like I say, it's hard for me to nail it down. We have 2 business plans. We have, both of them they're quite organic. They're living documents. I mean, we did a lot of research before we opened the doors, and we keep that as our litmus on everything new that we're looking at. Realistically, we need to grow, but the question is going to be where we grow.
Yeah.
And when we grow. So do we stay strictly in Calgary, or do we open up in Montana? Because our customers are now, they're North American, they're not just Canadian anymore. So we have to look at things that way. Is that, do we open a shop in North Dakota? Do we open a shop in Ontario?
Yeah.
Do we just make this shop here massive and bring in more CNCs and add a better shipping system in, so we can produce more and ship them out faster? So we're kind of really in that situation now, Matt, where we're trying to gauge, our appetite for risk is actually pretty high, considering that what we did at our age. So we're at that point now where it's got to be, as my dear old dad would say, a shit, piss, or wind your watch, but make a damn decision. And that's really where we're at right now. Is Joanne and I are really trying to think, are we good with what we're doing today, or do we want to take it to that next level?
Sounds like a fun place to be.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not without its heartburn.
I can imagine.
I mean, good thing is I never have any problem sleeping at night. So that's a good thing, right? I mean, I can shut it off, but yeah, I mean, if it means us going into a 4,000 square foot shop, that means us going into a 4,000 square foot shop. If the business dictates that that's what we, back to needs and wants, need to do, that's what we will do. If our business says we've got to set up in North Dakota and Calgary, then that's what we will do. If it's a need, not necessarily a want. So we don't necessarily need the business to be any bigger than it is right now. We're doing okay as it is. But the capacity to grow is there, the demand is there. So, and our brand name, it carries some weight now.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the name Fart Systems, as corny as it might sound, it does have some legs, right? I mean, we have a customer from North Dakota. He said, it's just the given name on all the trails down there in the northern US is everybody knows who Fart Systems is. And for me, I can't even grasp that. I don't get it. I don't get it how people in another country know us.
I mean, you picked a very standout name.
That was Joanne. That was all her.
So, I mean, I feel like that's an important question, is where does the name Fart Systems come from?
Well, we were looking for a name for the business. We'd already made the determination what we were going to do. So I wanted to call it, I mean, you're familiar with Beaver trailers, right? What are they called again? The name just escapes me. Jack, Beaverbilt.
Okay.
Beaverbilt overland trailers. So I was thinking, something Canadian. I wanted to call it like Beaver Box. And my wife looked at me. She's like, yeah, that ain't going to work, pal. I'm like, I suppose. So,
okay.
Yeah, pulling out the oldies on that one. So I was working out in the garage and she came out and she said, what about Fart Systems? I'm like, get real. I'm like, come on. He said, no, hang on, hear me out. Because, I mean, there's so many overland companies with names, right? I mean, there's so many names taken, you're worried about copyright infringement. So she said, what about Fart Systems? And I'm like, well, why? She said, not F-A-R-T, it's F-A-H-R-T. And I said, okay, why? Same applies. You change the letter. She said, well, it's the German word for journey or adventure or travel or trip.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So I'm like, I still didn't like the name. I'm still like, it's going to cause too much controversy. I mean, even though it's just a word, people sometimes get uptight about stupid shit, right? And we've had about 3 people make comments like, I'm just like, oh God, okay, whatever. The name actually works quite well. So anything when you're naming a business, when you're naming a YouTube channel, when you're naming an Instagram channel, you need a name that is difficult for people to forget. And when you think of a business name and the business is actually called Fart, people are going to be like, I'm not going to love it or hate it. You're not going to forget it.
No, right? Of course not.
I mean, we didn't want to call it shit stain or something, right? Or bacon strip or anything like that. It's just like, it's going to be what it is. So the name from the German language is exactly that. It's adventure and travel and trip and journey. And so, I mean, it really fits well for our industry. And, the funny thing is we have a website tracker. You can see where people are visiting from.
Yeah.
And in the last 6 months, we've had more and more hits from Italy, South America. We're getting hits from Europe constantly.
Oh, wow.
We're getting inquiries from Europe. So, I mean, so this business we were talking about, we've got to make a decision to shit, piss, or wind or watch here. That's really where it is that I think we could really make a go on a much larger level, almost internationally.
Yeah.
But then we're not talking about getting 10 grand of investment in either at that point, right? It's a considerable, because you have to deal with different types of insurance.
Yep.
Right. The insurance we have
everything
right now
changes.
Yep. Everything changes. Your legalities change. Your business semantics changes. Your tax brackets change.
Yep.
your export. I mean, we have to have an export license. We have one now, but we need an international export license. And you're dealing with VAT, British taxes, and those kind of shit. It's just a different world. So, I mean,
It's exciting though.
We're going to stay in our lane. We're going to stay in our lane.
Yeah.
But our lane may get wider is the best way for me to put it.
But
we're never going to change lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. I'm getting a call right now from the government of Canada, which I'm assuming is for my passports. So thank you so much for your time, man. I got to grab that. But I appreciate everything, man. This was an awesome call. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. I mean, it was much appreciated. It's awesome.
All right, man. And we'll definitely keep in touch. And I got some questions for you on an off topic after that I'll message you about.
Sure. Sounds good, man.
All right, Alan. Thank you for the time, man.
Take
Bye.
care.